My name is Bob Markovich, and my focus is the return on happiness. Happiness comes before success. Success does not come before happiness. Happy, focus, and motivate. That's an awesome question, because we are here right where I started my journey. Not in this particular space, because when I was born this didn't exist, but over here to my left is Lake Erie. So I grew up in a family. We lived in a house that was actually a cottage. All right, so my parents moved from the coal mining areas of Pennsylvania, Fayette County, Pennsylvania. They moved here because my dad was pursuing a job at Ford Motor Company. There was a new Ford Motor Company that was being built in Lorain, Ohio. So my dad and my mom, they moved here. So again, they didn't have much money. They were coming from a very poor space. They grew up my mom grew up in the projects, and my dad grew up in a company housing. So my parents' roots were in the pits of depression, or the pits of recession, where my dad's dad every day got up, went and worked in the coal mine, and then eventually died of black lung, like everybody did that worked in the coal mine. So my parents moved here to make a better life for their family. So they settled here in Sheffield Lake, and they raised me and three of my sisters. Now, growing up, I didn't realize how poor I was. We had food stamps. We went to the store and used food stamps. I wasn't embarrassed because I didn't know any different. Then I went to one of the most expensive colleges. How I even got into the college, I have no idea. I went to BW, Baldwin Wallace. I went there specifically to play football. That's the only reason I went to college. My high school career was athletically was good. Academically, I graduated 171 out of 172 people. Went to college, got a 1.75 in my first quarter, and then it began to grow because I was actually focusing on things that I was interested in learning about, right? So I didn't really have a learning disability, which everybody thought I had. I wasn't motivated. I wasn't happy. I didn't want to sit in an algebra class and learn about algebra. As a result, I flunked algebra. So I had to take it my senior year. The only way that I was going to graduate was to pass algebra. I took it. I graduated. So my journey was with a very loving mother and a very encouraging dad. Sometimes he encouraged me with good things. Most of the times he encouraged me with the belt. I learned not to be a bad person. I learned to enjoy other people. I learned to build relationships. I'm not so sure that was a focus that I had, but I knew every time I messed up, my dad was going to be there to whip me. And you know what? That was one of the things that got me through high school and got me through college. Yeah, so the roadblock that I experienced. First of all, I've got to say that I was blessed through my career. I graduated from college. I started teaching because I wanted to be a coach, right? I wanted to be an athletic coach. So I started teaching. I started coaching. Eventually, I wasn't so excited, motivated, or happy about teaching. So I went into sales, and eventually I worked my way up along in Winding Road. But you know what? I was happy. Along in Winding Road, I ended up being a divisional sales manager for the largest company in the world at that time. The biggest obstacle I ever had was getting fired in 2008. So in 2008, I lost my career. So I pursued another job. I took on another job in the same industry. That didn't go well. I took on another job in the same industry. That didn't go well. I finally realized in about 2014, 2015, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 7 years later, I realized that I was going through depression. Once I understood that I was going through depression, I went and found a doctor that I trusted and prescribed anti-anxiety, anti-depression medicine, and it worked for me. A year later, I came off of the medication, and I began the journey to reset my path. I built this wonderful team. I believe the numbers are somewhere around here. When I was first hired, we were doing about $300 million in sales a year. When I got fired, we were doing over $1 billion in sales. And it was because I was coached. And as a result of me being coached, and how I managed the people that worked for me, because they were smarter than I was, they worked harder than I was, they understood the industry better than I did, because I was going to an industry that was different than the industry that I was. My calling was to be that coach. But as a result of that bump in the road, being fired, I then started this journey to become a coach, which about 18 months ago got me to this point of focusing on happiness and just diving in to the 200 different studies that are done on happiness. And so my focus is to make people happier, because I know that happiness comes before success. Man, the list is long, and the older I get, the more inspiration I have. First of all, it was John Maxwell. John Maxwell's impact on me helped me realize that I needed to grow every day, and that I would never achieve, total satisfaction, because I had to grow every day to become better, so that I could inspire and motivate other people to become the best version of themselves. The life of Jesus Christ inspired me, because Jesus Christ went out and influenced people. This was a Nazarene, right? Nobody liked Nazarenes. This was Jesus, born in Nazareth, who inspired 12 knuckleheads that became apostles, that were, most of them were fishermen, right? Luke was a doctor, Matthew was a tax collector, but the rest of them were just the low of the low. And Jesus was able to inspire them through the power of the Holy Spirit, but through the person that Jesus was, he inspired them enough so that he changed the world. So here we are 2,000 years later, and we're still talking about Jesus Christ, and we're still talking about the Apostle Paul, and we're still talking about Peter, Mark, Luke, John. My middle school English teacher, his name is Gene Leonard. Shout out to Gene Leonard, he's still living. He goes, well, there's this book out there that Maxwell Maltz wrote, and the name of the book that Maxwell Maltz wrote is, I can't remember the name of the book now, but Maxwell Maltz is the author. And so he told me about this concept and this philosophy of mindset, and where's your mind at? And so I went out and I bought a copy of the book, and I still have that copy of the book. But Gene Leonard's inspiration to go out and read this book by Maxwell Maltz, who was a psychologist, who was also an astrophysicist, I believe. I mean, the guy was extremely knowledgeable, had a wealth of knowledge. He inspired me. I still use Maxwell Maltz's information today. So he influenced my college football coach. What was an incredible inspiration on me as well. Dave Demerly, he was the offensive line coach at BW. That's a great question, and there's a lot of things going through my mind right now. And I'd probably have to say that the biggest impact that somebody said that made on me was, be careful, little eyes are watching you. The point is, little eyes are watching you. Eventually somebody with more wisdom said, what are you doing? Because there's people that are watching you. It's not about what you say, it's about what you do, right? So my mom said, do what I say, not as I do. But you know what? We can't influence anybody with our words. We have to influence people with what we do. I'm going to have to make a comment, and then I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So my goal is to live to be 120 years old. But if I die before I'm 120, it's going to be as a result of falling off the side of a mountain, not sitting in front of the TV. Because I want to be an influence on my grandchildren. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure that I am an influence on other people. I want to bring the influence of being happy. You know what? If you're a faith-based person and you're listening to this, the Bible is full of wisdom that says that we need to be happy. As a matter of fact, there's a verse in Psalms that says delight. Delight is a word that means happy. It's synonymous with happy. It's synonymous with joyfulness. It's delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. And I know that the happier that I am, the better influence I can be on people. And the more people that I can influence and say, hey, you need to be happy, you need to do these 5 things every day, even if you only do one of them, even if you only walk for 30 minutes a day, that's starting your journey to becoming happy. And I'm telling you, once you start that, you never want to be miserable again. You want to be satisfied. You want to find things that make you satisfied. I want to help people be satisfied, and I want to help them achieve that through understanding happiness and becoming happy.
Thanks.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man.